Hello, my name is Bethany Darling. I am a transfer student currently nearing the end of my second year at Mount Mercy University. I am studying secondary education with a minor in Spanish. My goal is to become a high school Spanish teacher. During my time at Mount Mercy, I have built really close relationships with my teachers and my fellow classmates. And because of that, I have had the opportunity to be a part of different groups and projects that I never anticipated would be options or that I didn't know they existed. The most unique opportunity that has been presented to me was my invitation to accompany Professor Belkis Suarez and my fellow classmate Jacob Waltersdorf in presenting at the annual AATSP conference in Atlanta, Georgia. For those that don't know, the AATSP is the American Association of Teachers of Spanish and Portuguese. This is even more of an honor as we are both students that have not graduated quite yet, so it will definitely be different for the teachers there to see students accompanying a professor, but we are both really excited. And it's going to be a different kind of challenge for us as the entire presentation will be in Spanish. And um, but it's just, I'm really excited and excited to tell you about it today. What our presentation is about is helping teachers study the concepts of class, race, and gender through Latin American film. To do this, we thought it would be best to choose a film to demonstrate how you would do this with a film. We chose the Venezuelan film Pelo Malo. Therefore, before we started, we had to learn about what Venezuela is like in terms of what classism, racism, and like gender roles and stereotypes look like there. The resource that I found most helpful that we used was Café con Leche, which is about race, class, and national image in Venezuela. They do also talk about gender in there. Um, but here, just in case anybody wanted to read kind of where we started our base for particularly the prejudice, discrimination, and race side of it, here are the definitions for that. So you're welcome to pause and look at those if you'd like to see that. Our purpose is objectivity and cultural relativism, basically. The Latin Americans' perception of class, race, and gender differ from that of North Americans. Therefore, in order to understand these concepts and their implications in other countries, teachers and students must set their notions aside and look through a lens that is free of assumptions. And if you haven't heard of cultural relativism, basically it's being able to or implementing a sort of a mindset or perspective in which you look at something that happens somewhere else or a different culture. In this case, we're looking at a film, and you're not looking at it assuming that everything is the same as where you're from. So I would not watch Pelo Malo thinking, oh, racism there is exactly like it is in the United States, because it's not. A great example that Belkis Suarez has shared with students in Spanish is asking people from all around the world how many continents there are, because she was in a class where a teacher used that as a question completely unrelated to what the actual question was, but rather a translation activity. And they came back the next day and all came back with different answers because there were different people from all over the world. Some people say there are 5, some people say 6, some people say 7. And that's only what I've heard so far. There might be different answers as well to how many continents there are. So you just can't assume that things are only a certain way based on your limited perspective that you've had. And that's kind of the gist of cultural relativism. So about the film, again, it's a Venezuelan film directed by Mariana Rondon, and the title means bad hair, which is a little bit self-explanatory in the literal sense that it's like that more like Afro-Latino hair that's kind of curled tight to the head. And in the movie, there is a young boy named Junior who is kind of confused about his gender and who he is, but it comes off much more like homosexuality to his mom. So there is a struggle between them there because she does not want him, she doesn't want anything bad to happen to him, but she also, more in a selfish way, it seems, doesn't want him to be gay. So there's a struggle there, and he has an obsession with wanting to straighten his hair. And that can easily be confused with a matter of race, but straightening his hair really is more something that comes with the gender part of it. So there's just so much to develop in this film that there are so many different ways the teachers will be able to use this film and hopefully be able to see how to use other films that they might choose instead if they see another one that would better fit their needs. So what we will start with is asking the audience to look at that last picture I showed or this like movie poster or other impactful images from the film and ask what they think it's about. So we wouldn't tell them what I just told you to give you some context, and ask what they see. Well, they might see El Bloque or like the block, the neighborhood in the back does not look much like the United States, at least not what I've seen, because I can't speak for everyone else. And see what he looks like and see perhaps he's really skinny compared to what you might see. You might make assumptions or guesses at his class, like his quality of life, those kind of things. Then, when they've guessed what it's about, we'll develop more with the title. Because yes, pelo malo means literally bad hair, but it's such a loaded term. There's a lot more to talk about there, and we want teachers to think about that so that they can get their students to think about that when they're talking about it. And then instead of the traditional, oh, here's your vocabulary list, learn these words kind of thing, we are going to do an activity that allows the teachers in the audience to kind of create the own vocabulary list of relevant terms and themes that they think go along with what we're talking about. So then it's almost like the students will be creating their own vocab that works with what they think and what they're learning. Of course, you can still have other vocabulary, but it's a different take on vocabulary. Here are some of the other impactful images that we chose to use for the activities, which we will be providing the teachers. Again, El Bloque, like what the living spaces look like in the neighborhood, the scene where Junior has half his hair curled natural, or it's curly and it's natural, and then where he has it straightened. Clearly he's much happier with the straightened side, and what does that mean? Because the images are so powerful in this movie. And there's a picture of him with his friend. She's another character that we could talk about more. Of course, she's a little bit of a smaller role in the movie, but still in some very important scenes. And then, of course, Junior with his mother and his sister. And their relationship, there's for sure violence in the film, but in talking about it with Belkis Suarez and Jacobo, we had to talk about, what kind of violence is there, because maybe it's not that physical, or maybe it is and I missed it, or is it emotional, is it psychological? What are we seeing in this movie that relates to homosexuality that might be different from in the US? There are things that I didn't even think of that had to do with that. Again, like straightening hair, that sounds, to me, that seemed more like a race thing than a gender thing, but that's not the case. And overall, we just want teachers to be able to look at these images or the scenes that we set out for them to see how to better implement that cultural relativism when discussing any other literature, films, or products from a separate culture. And the resources will be specified to certain parts of Pelo Malo, but of course they are adaptable to be used for films that the teachers choose. And we'll provide guides for stimulating discussion in classrooms, because we don't want to be there talking the whole time. We want the students to talk about that and figure out how they feel and see things about race, class, and gender, as well, as these are topics that are so in our faces right now. They're very prevalent and important that we talk about them. So I am very excited to present this summer, and I'm glad I got to share about this. And I hope this was interesting and maybe inspired you to learn more about another culture or the way things are done elsewhere. Thank you.